Mostly nurses, they fail because they are not smart enough, right? Nah, wrong. A lot of them, they fail because they were not aware of some of the common mistakes that they would have made on their first shift, and some of the common mistakes that nobody really warned them about, I'm going to share with you so you can avoid them or you can learn of ways to prevent them, because these mistakes, it can affect your confidence, it affects your reputation as well as your patient safety. So if you're a new nurse, if you're an international nurse, a graduate nurse, or someone who is going to be like starting a new job, then this is something that you definitely want to hear. So I would love for you to go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube page here at Think Nursing, turn that notification bell on, and most importantly, just leave a comment down below and let me know if you're a new graduate or if you're starting a new job soon. I'm a nurse originally from Jamaica, working here in the US. And so I want to say thank you so much for tuning in. So if you're a graduate nurse, if you're an international nurse, someone who is adjusting to a new health system, then this video definitely will help you, because we're going to just talk a little bit about some of the biggest mistakes that new nurses tend to make and how to avoid them. And trust me, these might sound simple, but almost every nurse, every single nurse, regardless of their experience level, would have, made one of these mistakes at some point or the other. Yes, they would have. So the first one is a lot of the new nurses, when they get out, we tend to pretend to understand when we don't know. That is it. We tend to pretend, and that is very dangerous. It is a very dangerous mistake, because I know when you leave nursing school, you feel a little bit pressured, and so you're like, okay, then yes, I know what I'm doing. I got this, because you don't want to feel like an inexperienced nurse. And yes, I totally understand, because nobody really wants to be a registered nurse and you're out there and you don't seem like you know what you're doing. You always want to seem like you have everything, pretty decent. But in nursing, we have to remember that clarity is more important than appearance. So we have to learn how to ask more questions, tell people that we need a little bit more explanation. Can you explain this again to me? I want to make sure that I'm doing this correctly. Ask the question, because that is going to protect your patient. It's also going to protect you and your license. And it is also going to build your confidence. And that is what we want. Eventually, it's going to make you into a stronger nurse. The next thing that we tend to do as new nurses is that we try to do everything on our own. Yes, we feel as though we're superhuman or superwoman or super nurse. Yes, we need to start asking for help before we start struggling with our patients. So don't be over there struggling in silence, because strong nurses, they ask for help from early. They don't wait until it's too late. So you have to learn to start speaking up when you realize that it is overwhelming, your patient acuity are high. Ask for a guidance. You understand? Use up your team. They're there for a reason. Make them your resources. Nursing is not a solo job. It's not a one-man job. So you might have 4 patients or how many patients you're assigned. If you're not in the position to take care of those patients, ask for help. But don't wait until it's too late or, the patient condition has deteriorated and then you need help. No. New nurses a lot of times tend to feel pressure to be fast, and so they tend to rush a lot. So try not to be in a rush with your medication, your chart, and your assessment, because those are the areas that we tend to see patients, nurses be falling behind on. You have to try to make sure that you're doing everything, because when you're doing things and it's inaccurate, it's dangerous. Double check your medication, check your patients, verify. You earn trust through safety, not speed. So learn to slow down, double check, triple check if you need to do that. The next thing is when it comes on to time management. A lot of times, yes, we're struggling. Everything just feels urgent at first. So as new nurses, we spend a lot of times with, charting, spending too much time on one patient, delaying important tasks, feeling overwhelmed quickly. Yes, we just have to learn to prioritize from early. And if you prioritize from early and ask yourself who is stable, who is unstable, who needs immediate care, who can wait safely, then you will realize that your time management will improve over time with practice. But awareness is very important. If you're not aware, then you're going to have problems later on. Awareness is the first step in everything. The next thing is a lot of us tend to take the corrections a little bit too personal. Yes, we take it too personal. Confidence is something that, yes, you need to have it, but you can get correction in nursing, and you will get a lot of correction in nursing, and not all of them is going to be very kind. Some of them are not going to be kind. The time and place is just not going to be right. But if you take everything too personal in nursing, you're going to feel discouraged very quickly. So you have to try and change your mindset. Shift your mindset and just think of it that correction is just growth. Look at it that when somebody corrects you, you're just growing, you're improving. Ask yourself, what can you learn from that situation? What can you learn from someone correcting you today? Because when someone corrects you today, they're preventing you from making a mistake later on. Another thing we're not doing much of is observing or experienced nurses. Some nurses just come to work and they just complete the task and that's it. But you have some other persons who are there doing their work. Some are there observing, watching how strong nurses or experienced nurses, how they communicate, how they prioritize, how they handle situations, emergency situations, how they stay calm. You learn so much information from those nurses, years of experience, in just hours, just by paying attention to those nurses. Documentation, I don't know, we need a class in documentation, because weak documentation is a problem. Documentation is not just paperwork, it's protection. New nurses, sometimes they don't chart much. They forget to chart. They miss charting details, important things that are needed, the delay charting. And you have to remember that you have to chart on time, chart in real time, accurately, very clearly. Always document your patient responses, abnormal findings. Those are important things that you need to document. Every nurse has difficult shifts. But some new nurses start thinking that, oh my word, I'm not cut out for this, I'm not good at this, I made a mistake, I'm failing. That mindset, you need to kind of, throw it through the window. That mindset slows your growth. You have to separate your shift from your identity. One shift is just one experience. It's not your entire career. So do not let one bad day define your entire life, your entire career. So just learn from it and just move on. The other thing we tend to do is compare ourselves to others. Nothing is wrong with comparing yourself, but you might see another person, you understand, you might see another nurse who seem a little bit faster, a little bit more confident, a little bit more skilled, and you start comparing yourself. Yes, it's okay to compare yourself, but you don't see their journey. You don't see their journey. So you have to focus on your progress, and then from there ask yourself, am I better today than I was last week? And that is what matters the most. Where you're at, where you're coming from. You understand? Because eventually you'll get to that, that point in life where somebody else will look at you and admire you and be comparing themselves to you. The other thing I want to say is a lot of us are not thinking long term. Some nurses, they stay stuck because they only survive, or they're only focused on surviving each shift. They're not thinking about growth, and growth requires intention. So you have to ask yourself, what skill am I building today? What area am I improving in? What's my next step? What's my next goal? And if you're able to do that, you will realize that you will grow as a nurse. And especially for international nurses, just think of it that you've already started a journey. Your journey already proves your strength, because you've moved from one country to another, one culture to another. So it's time for you to be a little bit more strategic and plan, accordingly. So mistakes, they do happen, but it doesn't mean that you are failing. They will be happening every now and again. It means that you're learning. You just have to be strong. You understand? You just have to be strong, and you just have to know that as you go along, you're making mistakes, but try not to be making the same mistake. Learn from them. I made the mistakes years ago. Other nurses made mistakes, but the problem is that we didn't quit. What we did was we adjusted, we changed, we learned, we kept going, and we kept on growing. And that's the most important thing. So if you're a new nurse out there, if you're on a journey, if you're becoming, if you're wanting to become stronger, you just have to understand that learning or making mistakes, it's not, defining your career, or it's not the end of your career. You're learning and you're not failing. So just go ahead and share this video with somebody who you think needs it. Save it. Go ahead as well and subscribe to the page here. I would love for you to be a part of the family. And until then, I'll continue sharing more content where you can always be motivated and be inspired. Until then, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.